Today's episode is brought to you by the Bose S1 Pro multi-position PA system and westfloridarealestate.com. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. Man, I've got a great guest. Not only is he a fantastic guitarist, he's a very cool dad, and he is involved in a lot of really interesting things that are outside the music business, some charitable, some professional. We're with Shirley, lead guitar player for Switchfoot. I'm really excited to talk to him. Few quick messages. Number one, James Duke, thank you for connecting us, man. Shout out to our mutual friend, James. Number two, don't forget to go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe. Subscribe to the show on that page as well as the YouTube channel. And also, Carlos Santana, Joe Walsh, love to have those guys on the show. If you can connect us, please do so. Let's talk about Drew Shirley. As I said, lead guitar player in the band Switchfoot, lives in San Diego with his wife and 4 daughters. He's known as a tone collector and appreciates an analog signal path through small tube amplifiers. Keeping it simple. I like that. After taking piano lessons as a kid, he started a band called All Together Separate. They toured the country for 7 years, and then he began playing in Switchfoot in 2004. Was made a permanent band member shortly after that. Switchfoot has released 11 albums, has been signed to major labels for most of the band's career. Drew's played and toured the last 8 of those records. Switchfoot released a new record earlier this year called Native Tongue. There's great songs on it. Really fantastic, very fresh indie vibe. And I'm looking forward to talking to Drew. And he just got off tour 2 days ago. So thank you for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate your time.
Great, man. It's good to be here. Thanks for that intro.
You're welcome. All right. So how did you first get started in the music business? Like, what was your first break?
So my first break was right after college, I would say. If you want to call it a break, it's been a slow build for me. I started playing in a band right out of college. We had no idea what we were doing. We were touring in a Volkswagen Vanagon that my dad sold me for $1.
Nice.
And, I had basically 1 guitar and 1 amp. And it was like, let's start a band and go on the road. Well, the break, I would say, kind of came when a guy from another band came to our record release party. He was in a band called Big Tent Revival. His name was Randy Williams. And he basically said, hey, you guys are really good. I want to take your EP to the record label. And the record label liked it, and they flew out and signed us for 3 records, I think, on Ardent. And so that's a label out of Memphis, Tennessee. I'd say that was kind of a break. Small label, did 3 records there. And, if you hear stories of how things happen, and it was a break now, but at the time, we thought it was the biggest thing in the world. But then there's been a lot of other things that have happened that were bigger, but you just don't know it at the time.
Right. I really appreciate when you said, I wrote it down, actually, it's been a slow build for me, because I think that's more of everybody's reality.
Yeah.
Things tend to, it's like going to the gym or something like that, or losing weight. A guy loses 75 pounds. How did it happen? Well, it happened over 18 months, or whatever. It's not like, I went in on Monday and Friday, couldn't believe it, and I appreciate that you said that, man. That was really, that's pretty much the way things work.
So, people know me from Switchfoot, but I played in another band for 7 years, touring the country with my best buds, and we, learned a lot, cut our teeth on playing anywhere and everywhere for nothing and sleeping on couches.
Good question. Good segue, because I wanted to ask you about that. You toured the country for 7 years. So my questions were, what were the highs and lows there, and what sort of ended the band? And also, you said you learned a lot there. What were some lessons, like important takeaways that you got out of that really helped you later in life? Business, personal, musically, performing, whatever you feel like talking about.
Definitely, man. So those early years were exciting and free. And I tell people all the time, don't, enjoy where you're at. Don't always be looking to the next bigger thing. Like, it'll be better when I get to a bigger audience or a bigger phase in my career, because some of those early days were the best. I mean, we had the time of our lives playing for like 100 people somewhere, or playing a festival in the midday and just hanging out with friends and getting to those early shows had a lot of energy, man. There were people jumping off things and kids sitting right next to your amp just rocking out, and we didn't have in-ears and any production. It was just us. And you got to appreciate those days. You got to appreciate where you're at, because some of those small gigs were as fun and as impactful potentially as some of the bigger ones that we've done since then. And the lessons I learned were a lot. They were like business lessons. So we learned how to run a business and kind of how to function as a band. I'll give you the short story. It was like, we had 4 guys in the band, so we split everything 5 ways. We're like, okay, everybody gets 1 piece and then 1 piece for the band. And we saved a little bit for the band expenses that way. It was really simple.
That's smart. That's very smart.
Actually worked. It worked really well for us.
So wait a minute, just to clarify, that 5th piece that went into the band's coffer for communal expenses. That's really smart, man, because then the burden is not on any. Well, I don't have my share this week because
totally.
Yeah, that is really freaking clever, man.
Yeah, we stumbled on it, I think, and it really worked. I'd recommend it. It was kind of a good way to do it too, because everyone felt a part of it. Nobody was making any more than anybody else, and the band was, getting built at the same time. We saved up enough we went through 3 different vans, burned them out. Stuff on the road happens where, like, once we our trailer hitch broke and it was bending, and so our trailer was scraping on the ground like this. Nice. And then this company welded a bar underneath to hold it, but they welded it onto the gas tank, and then our fuel pump went out. And so they're like, we can't get to the fuel pump because somebody welded a bar on here. And we're like, oh no. So we had to cut inside the van a huge circle so that they could access the gas tank. So the van was just in pieces. You could see the freeway through a hole in the van as we drove down the road. It was pretty much a wreck, but you just look back on those times like, we were making it work, and we were, you do what you need to do to get to the next gig. Sure, man. We had all our stuff stolen once. That's happened to every band has been in it long enough. Our trailer got stolen. Someone pulled it across the rose bushes and just hijacked it, stole everything out of it. We used our record company advance to buy new equipment. It wasn't a lot, but we were like, okay, well, I guess that's what we had to do. Just use the advance to buy new guitars and amps and drums. So those were good times, man. And so what happened was, we were kind of this funk rock band. It was like Lenny Kravitz meets, Stevie Wonder meets U2 kind of thing. And it was sort of, people got it but didn't get it. It was sort of a different style genre-wise. And we said, okay, if this doesn't take off, we gave ourselves 1 more year, which was, I think, another smart decision. We let things have time to play out. So we said, all right, we'll give it 1 more year, and if it's not taken off, then we're going to all go our separate ways and figure out what's next.
Was there? Did you guys define what taking off meant? Because that definition is really apt to get wide after 6 or 7 years of vested interest in something, or for some people, maybe very narrow. That's a tough one.
I mean, we were all living together, and we were all surviving on, like, I never made more than, like, I don't know, $1,500 or $2,000 a month. That was the most. That was like the peak. And I was like, wow, we're not able to, like, our gigs weren't, I don't remember all the finances of how much we were making per gig, but I just kind of remember that as a ceiling that we weren't able to reach past monthly. And so we're like, man, we gotta feel that lift somewhere, where it was just like, you feel the wind in your sails, you feel things taking off.
Sure.
It was kind of just holding steady and playing for the same folks around the country. And so we decided like, all right, let's just end this. And it was hard, man. I mean, looking back on it, like me and the lead singer made that decision, and the drummer and the bass player were kind of pissed. I mean, they were sort of like, we want to keep doing this. And me and Dex, the lead singer, were like, we think we should, move on. And we didn't know where we were moving on to. We were just like, we want to, I was 20, I think I was probably like 26 or 27. And I was like, I want to get on to something else that I have time to like get going. So, it was hard. Relationships are tricky. Band dynamics are always hard. So there's some hurt feelings and some major cussing going on. But like it was not like, it was hard, and there was some hard times to do that. But little did I know that exact same week, John Foreman, who's the lead singer of Switchfoot, we grew up with Switchfoot. So I knew them, they knew me. We played gigs together. We were on the same festival lineups and so forth. And he called me and he's like, hey, I don't know how your band is going. I don't really know what you guys' plans are, but we had this showcase that was a disaster, and we want to add another guitar player and see what it sounds like to get a better live sound.
Literally like, the same week?
Same week, dude. Like,
wow.
No joke.
Talk about like you did what you're supposed to do, and like karmically, man,
Dude, I believe God had it out. God had a road for me, man. I honestly, you just can't plan this stuff, right? I mean, I had no idea.
Wow. I just got goosebumps, man. That's pretty.
Yeah. He
pretty
asked
amazing,
me like,
man.
And I was like, well, dude, actually we just had a conversation, as that we're breaking up as a band and I'm going to have some free time. So at that time, Switchfoot wasn't like massive, or they had no hit records or anything, but I liked them and they were good guys, and I was like, wow, here's another opportunity. They actually rented my first band's bus for the first couple tours. They're like, hey, we've never had a bus before. My band we'd saved up and converted an old MCI bus, like this old bus that had seats in it that went to Vegas and back.
Oh, right.
One of those just crusty conversions where it was like not professional. It was done by like guys we hired off Craigslist, I think. And
nice.
And so
Perfect.
They rented our band's bus for like the first 6 or 8 months of touring. So that helped them out a bit too. We rented it super cheap and then sold it. Anyway, yeah, man, at this point in my career, I look back and I go, I don't know why it happens for some people and it doesn't for others.
Yeah.
Because we all know people who are super good at guitar, better than us, who are sitting in their bedroom, playing, not able to get a break. Why? Like, why are they not able to get a break? And then I just get this call from John and start playing the Switchfoot. And here I am, like literally 18 years later, still making a living. Why? I do not know why God does what he does, or why people are in the right place at the right time. Yeah. But it literally is an element of that sort of lining up, because I know people way more talented than me that didn't get a break or didn't get it in the right place at the right time. And so all I can do is give God thanks, give God my life, just be like, all right, I guess this is my story. Here I am.
Yeah. I think
all I know is my story.
Yeah. Very cool, man. Was it weird when I said the word weird, when you first started playing with them after being with your band for 7 years, it had to feel awkward to some extent, like in the beginning, no?
Yeah, it was awkward. They already had an established thing and I was the new guy. And the fans were kind of like, who's this new guy? And I'm always like, sorry. Kind of a mix of sorry and like, thank you.
Yeah.
like glad to be here, but
give me a
sorry.
shot, please. Yeah.
And in my first band, I was like the rock guy. So
Right.
like our lead singer was way more into funk and Stevie Wonder and stuff. And then in Switchfoot, I ended up kind of being the funk guy because I was coming from a band that was more rhythmic and jam oriented.
Right.
And so they weren't used to that. Like Switchfoot really didn't jam or do guitar solos or anything like that very much. They did some, but it was more like maybe mindset like the Beatles, where your parts are like really lined out, planned out. Yeah, which is great. And so I had to learn that method. I would sort of be like playing the solo, and John would be like, dude, let's stick to the parts that are on the record. Like, oh yeah, sorry.
That had to be different, like playing someone else's parts.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah. Now you're the guy that's the parts, but that had to be really different. Yeah. In the beginning.
It was, and I think it's hard for a little bit, it was tricky for John too, because he's a great lead guitar player. I gotta say, his sense of melody and writing, and he's written like a lot of the riffs, because he's a very melodic writer, and he writes like he sings. So after a while I was like, man, I'm learning a lot here, because I can noodle all day long, but he can write a part that really sticks, and I need to learn how to do that. That's a talent.
How long did it take until you felt like till you didn't feel like, not that I'm sure they didn't make you feel like a stranger, but till you didn't feel like you were a stranger, sort of, or till you felt like, hey man, I'm in my right place?
Yeah. So I started touring on the Beautiful Letdown record. But I wasn't in all the photos because I joined after they had already done the photos for that record. So
that's always fun, kind of funny, because a lot of guys do, and they're like, why weren't you in the photo? It's a long story.
Yeah, long story. I was like, they had already done all that. So they were like, hey, here's what we're gonna wait until the next record that you play on to like introduce you in the photos. So I was like, okay, cool. So that was awkward. So, but once I played on the next record and then was in, the photos and stuff, then it felt pretty good. Like they were super gracious. Like they didn't have to make me, even in the pictures, literally I was brought in after the band formed. And I know a lot of guys who just play as side guys, for their whole career. But they were gracious enough, to let me become a band member and actually be in the photos and be on the records and in the studio, like playing just, as a band member.
That's correct. But obviously you earned it too. I mean, it was very cool, but people don't give that stuff away. It's like, hey man, this makes sense for the greater good of all of us to do it, make a decision. And I'm sure they had that conversation just as anybody would have had it, So it worked out for everybody. That's cool. Really cool. You also do work with a company called Wedgewood. And I was wondering if you could explain, what does that company do? And what is your role with them?
Yeah, Wedgewood, we got introduced to back in like 2004. So I've been knowing them and working with them for like 15 to 17 years now. So it's the one line sentence of what it is. It's a group of high net worth investors that give money to invest in arts and culture for what's good, right, and true for the common good. So essentially, they're a bunch of guys who said, okay, arts isn't being supported in our culture, and we believe that it is important. So we're willing to literally give tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars to see that happen. And so I, as our band progressed, became one of the people that helps them decide where to give that money to. So I'm not one of the high net worth investors, but I'm one of the guys who decides where their money goes. And so I've been able to grant money to all kinds of artists that are changing the world. We've funded albums. We've bought vans. We've, wherever there's a need, people come to me and I find them or they find me, or someone else contacts us, and there's an application process, and then we basically fund music that's good, right, and true for the common good. And what the cool thing is that the money, it's not, it's anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000, which is a pretty good shot in the arm for a lot of bands at the beginning. Yeah, at the beginning level. Even bands that are more established are like, it's a good, amount that means something. But then the community that it builds and the belief in what they're doing is the more important thing. Because like, who does that, right? I mean, my parents didn't even give me 10 grand, to start a band.
Oh, sure.
Or someone who loves you. It's like, but it's real funds, and so it means a lot. So bands have seen that, and the group sees it as an investment, not as like a charity thing. So it's more like these are bands that are on that. Just if they just had that van, they could take the tour, and then hopefully their whole the tide would rise on everything they're doing.
Is that like 501c3 status?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
yeah.
So then people have incentive to actually participate in this from a tax standpoint. Okay, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So these, the rich guys who they give it tax free. It's a nonprofit.
So they get a charitable deduction for. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
So it's really pretty cool, man. Yeah, we've been able to fund not only music but literature, film and TV stuff. So
podcasts. I'm just messing with you. That is really cool. So your job is, as a guy who's in the field, you're sort of out there on the battlefield. So you're in touch with you're the guy that's probably going to be more in touch with. You can vet people out. You can do proper due diligence, as opposed to a guy who's CEO of a company or something like that, who wants to support it but doesn't have the access to vet stuff.
Yes, and mentoring is in my blood. I feel like I've been able to make an impact on people by telling them, you've got it, and here's some money to go with, and I believe in you, and if I can ever help you out, let me know. And that has been one of those really, it just brings me joy. It's like it's like a mix of Santa Claus and a dad and something of the heart of God, where it's just like I want to support things that are good, right, and true, and help them along.
It's like Undercover Boss, man. Which is really cool, right? Have you ever seen this? I don't watch much TV, but I have watched a couple of those. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
And how did you get hooked up with these guys?
Yeah. So let's see. So it started out of on Capitol Hill. Actually, we met a guy named Mark Rogers, and he was the government. Let's see. It was under the Bush administration. Did this thing called a faith-based initiative. Mm-hmm. I don't know a whole lot about that, but I know that he invited us to like a Senate lunch one time, and it was like, hey, Switchfoot, you guys are making waves and changing the world with your songs, and want to come to a Senate lunch. And so we were all like, I guess. I don't really
yeah, like what's your frame of reference on that?
None. Like literally, we don't do politics, right?
Yeah,
so we were not interested in supporting any politicians or playing at the whatever convention stuff. We were not even going there. But these guys were like, we'll buy you lunch. So we bought ties, so we bought ties outside the White House, and, wore them in there looking like a bunch of probably DBs, like, hey, how's it going? We're in a band. And we met them there. And then that office shut down after Bush's administration, left office. And that group of businessmen that started that went on to start Wedgewood, and they were hey, we're going to continue to use all the resources to try to fund arts and culture.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
so,
Okay.
do you want to keep in touch? And so that's how we met him,
That's
and then
cool,
it's
man.
formed, from there, it's formed into a whole nother thing, which is, funding, retreats and, artist, um, mentoring, and a whole community of people that have produced some just amazing work.
That's great, man. It's a nice way for you to give back too.
I love that. Yeah.
You also do artist relations for a really important charity called Humans Against Trafficking, which I think is, as we talked initially when we first connected, I think it's a really, really good cause. And I think anybody who has daughters would have a hard time not feeling that way. Can you talk about what Humans Against Trafficking does and how and why you chose what you do and what prompted you to get involved with them?
Yeah, I'd love to. This is a new project that I'm working on, and I'm really excited about it. We've got, the umbrella company is a nonprofit called Humans Against Trafficking, like you said. What we're looking to do is create an artist movement to shape culture again, kind of spurring, continuing the work that I've been doing in Wedgewood, to influence how people think about, uh, the morals and the, restoring some of those things in culture in order to prevent human trafficking. So what we found is that there's a lot of groups doing, trying to save kids who are trapped, in this, crime, and there's a lot of people rehabilitating people after they come out of this, but there's not a whole lot of people trying to prevent it from happening.
Okay.
So we said to ourselves, like, what if we could, influence culture by activating artists to, like, start to sing and message and talk about this issue, so that it was not something that was hidden and covered and happening all around us. A lot of people don't know that human trafficking to minors is, happening in all kinds of neighborhoods all over America, and it's 80% American born citizens. So it's not like something that's just,
Yeah, it
just like,
happens to mostly other people. Yeah, it's happening.
yeah,
80% of it's happening right here.
right. It's not like salons in Thailand or brothels in some foreign country. It's here, and it's happening online. So we started this online approach. We built some software that can find and warn at-risk kids on Instagram, which is really, really rad. Facebook is interested in it. We've got some relationships with, all of the other companies that are working in this space, like doing phenomenal work. Some of them you may have heard of, like IJM, International Justice Mission, does great work. Global Citizen, we're working to partner with them as well, which is a big artist movement, with causes that does good in the world. Everything from, well, you can check out Global Citizen, and then there's all kinds of organizations like, that we're going to promote with this artist movement. So this podcast is basically the place I'm sort of unveiling publicly what we're working on. We've had a lot of conversations with artists. I've been socializing the idea, but it's going to launch next year. It's going to launch in January. We're going to start popping up, and you'll see more about it. But we're going to basically be a movement that's going to rise the tide on all of the organizations working in the anti-human trafficking space. And we want anyone listening that has something to do with that or a passion about it to contact us and to be involved. This isn't just our thing. We want to help everyone. We want to rise the whole tide on for everybody that's working in this space. And we want to help artists sing about what they're passionate about. So if this resonates with artists and the things that are preventative messaging resonates with you as an artist, as you're, listening to this and researching it coming up when we launch in January, we're going to start a new kind of advocacy awards where we actually fund bands and give out awards and give out grants, based upon, the advocacy work that people are doing and the songs that they're spreading, because we believe that this is an important message to get out in a culture, to tell people to have, honor for other people, to try to restore valuing other humans, and watching out for your friends, and having a community of people that steps up and says, hey, things have tipped in a way that are off, and we want to stand up and say, let's tip it back to where it is, so that people aren't sliding off the edge into this awful space of human trafficking.
We could do a whole show on this, but can you maybe give, for all the dads out there that have daughters, and I'm sure some young boys as well, can you maybe give, I don't know, the 2 or 3 tips or things to watch for, age ranges?
Yeah.
One of the things you told me that was real interesting was, I think you said 90% of the time it's somebody that the person knows. You know, it's not some, you know, shady guy from Eastern Europe grabbing them. You know, it's
Right.
a friend of theirs who's turning them, you know, that's getting paid for, you know, a people mover or something like that. If you want to share some stuff like that.
Yeah, man, I'd love to. Like you said, this is motivating me because I have 4 daughters. I don't know if
Yeah.
people know that, but like, I'm like, I want the world to be a better place for them, you know? And I feel like right now it's really sketchy. Like, you go on social media and, you know, girls are getting approached all the time. Like you said, only less than 10% of human trafficking is by force of any kind. It's always 90% happens through coercion and manipulation. So what does that look like? A lot of times it's someone approaching you online who's a predator, but they seem like a friend. If you think about your Instagram account, people already know what you like, what you don't like, what you look like, where you live, what kind of stuff makes you mad, what kind of stuff makes you depressed. If you're vulnerable, people that are bad will prey on those accounts. They will literally approach people. A lot of times it looks like, hey, you're really cute, I think you're awesome, I want to give you some free clothes, do you ever do modeling? That's a huge one, like, for girls to watch out for, is like, people fake that they're a modeling agency, and they're just trying to kind of wrap you up into things that are really awful. And it happens over time. It's not like you would even know it until you're already further along the road and you're like, wow, I had no idea it was going to be something like this. You just need to be aware as a, you said to talk to dads, but, you know, I guess I'm talking to everybody, because you don't really realize that this is very common and that it happens a lot. I would say, have people around you that you can trust, that are out for your good, you know, that you can say, like, hey, this seems a little weird that this guy's sending me clothes and wants me to take pictures of myself and send it back to him. What do you think? And have people around you that are aware and out to help you, especially if you've fallen and you've done stuff you regret, or you've done like stuff with your phone, and you know you're shamed. A lot of times these predators use that to keep girls into that relationship. They use the shame, the guilt, the promise.
If you don't follow forward with me, then I'm going to show. Send your parents the pictures, or your friends, or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. I'm gonna release these photos of you, and they blackmail that, you know. But most of all, like, have personal respect for yourself and for other people, and have boundaries. Like, have personal boundaries where you go, like, all right, I'm not going to do that. You know, just to put it bluntly, like, you know, people on phones in their room will send pictures or videos to other people, not realizing that those people are then posting those and making money off of them. And all of a sudden you're looped into something that you never wanted to be in, and you're embarrassed and you're shamed. And so you stay there for like a year or 2 before you ask for help. That happens to people in middle-class families that are just not aware that it's a thing. So I guess if we can spread the message and help people, you know, that's what we want to do. So I hope that, does that make sense?
Yeah, man. It sounds like what there's two things going on here. One is, which I think is a tougher thing, is to, when you said to have people, obviously personal boundaries are important, but the people that struggle with them are going to be most resistant to that message. In my opinion, it would appear that educating and making people aware of, hey man, this is what predatory behavior looks like. Even if it doesn't feel like predatory behavior, this is what it looks like, and it's going to lead to that. So that kind of thing seems like it's really important to do, because, unfortunately, if someone's got low self-esteem, they're not going to listen to a third party say, well, you shouldn't have low self-esteem. You should feel, it's really hard, as you know, man. But warning signals, that is, especially kids won't listen to adults in general, but seems like, educating people and parents about predatory behavior. If they hear something,
Right.
So
Parents, yeah, for sure, need to be aware. Like, get that protection instinct up, because our kids, like, the internet right now is kind of like the Wild West. Like, there's just no regulation, and what they can click and see and find is a lot of times really, really awful. And it's sometimes, and there's that mindset of like, oh, well, it will never happen to me, or that's just not the case. Anyone with a phone, it could happen to them.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Definitely. Thank you, man. I wish you good luck in in all your efforts to support that, man.
Yeah, I will say one more thing.
Yeah, please.
Like, basically, predators sell a false dream. Basically, they sell the dream that, like, hey, I'll give you $1,500 a week or a month, $3,000 a week, and you're going to have nice clothes. I'm going to tell you you're pretty. You're going to get lots of likes on Instagram or on my site. I'm paraphrasing, but there's this dream that they're selling, and I want to sell a different dream that's actually real. And that dream is that you honor yourself. You're made with a purpose. You're made right. You're made well. You are made unique. There's only one of you, and you're valuable. And you don't want to just give that value away. People have hurt you. I guess I'm talking to someone right now. I don't even know who it is. Honestly, I didn't expect to do this, but people have been hurt. You've been hurt. You've been wounded, and it's not your fault. And someone needs to hear that your wounds don't define you, and your pain doesn't define you. It was wrong, and it was done to you, but there can be healing, and there can be stuff made right. And I want to spread that message. I want to spread that hope. I want to spread that love to people, because I know that dream is real. It's called hope. It's a dream that I believe is real.
That's a tough message to spread to young people. As you know, man, I'm not telling anything. That's a tough message to spread, man. It really is.
Because people have been through some pain, man.
Well, right? And if you don't trust, and many times that comes from the parents.
Exactly.
So, that's the big issue, man. So if you have parents who've wounded you, I'm telling you, man, that's a tough door to open.
I know, but if your parents have wounded you, it's not your fault. They screwed up. They did some horrible things, but people can heal and change, and that wounding doesn't have to define you. There's hope that it can change.
Totally.
Yeah. So I want to help. I have daughters, but I want to help all our daughters. I kind of see it as like a collective help for society that I can try to use my platform for.
Well, like I said, I wish you tons of luck with it. And the organization is called Humans Against Trafficking. Is there a link you want to send people to, or?
Yeah, for now, the parent company is called humansagainsttrafficking.org, and it's a nonprofit, and you can go there. We've got a website up right now, and then you'll hear about the artist launch that we're going to do. next year. That's going to be something really, really cool.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for sharing that, and I'm thank you for trying to fix this horrible freaking problem. Again, good time to ask this, to the extent you're comfortable talking about this, and if you're not, that's, fine. You've been involved with bands where the members are very faith based, and I was curious, and you just mentioned some things faith oriented. I was curious what role faith plays in your life, and how did you get involved? Where did that come from for you?
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were both believers. I see myself as a recovering church kid.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, because I think I just learned a lot of wrong things from the church growing up. I'm recovering from them. I learned a lot of religion, okay? And that's basically a man-made system that you fake and pretend for the sake of pleasing people. And I did that for a long time. And I kind of thought that was faith, but it really wasn't. It was really people pleasing. And so when I say I'm a recovering church kid, like I'm still getting out of that,
Sure.
that mindset, because I believe now, as I've grown up, and I think my eyes have been opened. I think that I know it. And so what is faith to me? It's basically being restored to God, like knowing God, my creator. And I don't talk about it very much because honestly, when we're doing rock music, we want to play rock music.
Sure.
Christianity is a faith, not a genre of music. So we separate it out, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, but here we're talking about faith. You're like, okay, cool. So no, we don't want to be known as a Christian band. Faith is faith. Music is music. Like
Yeah.
Christian is a term that describes a follower of Christ. Christian.
Yeah.
Christian music, I just see us as a rock band.
Sure. Yeah.
And faith is big. It's all of who I am and what I do. Music's kind of a small part of who I am and what I do, to be honest with you.
Interesting.
So what role does it play? Dude, it is my identity, and that is above musician. Child of God is an identity that even is above husband of Jenna, because for me it goes child of God, husband of Jenna, father of my 4 kids, and then family, member of my family, and then my community around me, and then what I do is music. So that's like kind of 6 or 7
hierarchy
down the list. Yeah, so that's kind of my mindset. Even when even when I go to Target, I'm still who I am. Like, so it's my identity. So, it's not compartmentalized for me. I believe that I'm alive as a human, and that God has made a way for me to know Him again. I was blind, and now I can see, kind of thing. The whole gospel songs.
Yeah.
And what it's done for me, not what it's done, but the effects have been. I don't see myself as like the center of the universe anymore. I'm kind of not as important as I used to, like, defend myself and think I was really the center of everything. And now I'm realizing it's more about other people, and it's more about loving God and then loving other people. Basically, those are the first top 2 things that everything else can be wrapped into for me. It's like, love God, love others. Love others like you love yourself. And so that's kind of the top 2 guiding principles for me when it comes to faith. And I'm more and more open about it as I grow up. I'll say this: Switchfoot I think not just I think, I think we started out balancing on this tightrope. And I'll say it like this, we were kind of afraid to talk about, are you guys a Christian band? Or are you a secular band? Or like, why are you here at this radio station if you're Christians? And then the Christians would say, well, why are you at that radio station? And there was this real weird division between sacred and secular.
Yeah.
And Christian music existed in a bubble. And we didn't like that bubble. And I think Switchfoot was honestly one of the bands breaking that bubble. We walked a tightrope for a while, taking fire from both sides. Christians didn't like us. People in the world didn't like us. It was like, okay, nobody likes us. We're in this weird no man's land. But then it started to turn into like a dirt path. We kept walking. It turned into a sidewalk. We kept on our career making music and just being who we are. I think it turned into like a small road,
Yeah, man. The music defines you, not. And just to be clear, I in no way was trying to like impart. Or my question wasn't like, are you a Christian band? It was just I was talking about you personally. I know you've been the bands you've been in are faith based, and where does faith stand for you? I wasn't like,
yeah, man,
trying to.
No, it's all good.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't. That's not.
No, it's all good. And I think it's fine to talk about now. People are like, now it's like, oh yeah, who cares? Is your music good?
Yeah, that's really like it. When. Yeah, that's as far as when you turn on music, that's really what you should be concerned about. Like, is the music good? When you meet a person and how they act, you should be, well, how do they act? Not like, what faith are they? What color are they? It's like a lot easier than that if you just sort of like focus on the normal shit.
Exactly. Like, I don't see myself as better than anybody. I'm honestly more screwed up than
Don't worry, there's a long list of screwed up people, including myself, that have been on this show. So you have a good list in front of you and behind you.
Yeah, I'm more screwed up than
Aren't we all, man? It's like one day. I like what you said early on when you said, I think it's important to enjoy where you're at. And you said one thing that really was important. You said, a lot of bands are sitting there and saying, man, but we're paying our dues now, but next year we'll have this done. And, for a great part of my life, I thought like that. And what changed is, oddly enough, was I watched a documentary called Making of Dark Side of the Moon. Pink Floyd's always been my favorite band. And Roger Waters made a comment and he said, most people are always saying, when that happens, I'll go here, or when I'm able to do this, then I'll take that vacation, or, in the future. And he goes, that's a huge mistake. He goes, because I learned when I was little that life starts at dot and then you're off and running. He goes, it's not like you get a do-over. You don't get, to go back around. You got one life, man. And stop planning like that. Just be there and enjoy it. And I guess I was ready to hear that message at that time. And it was funny where it came from. Wouldn't have thought I'd hit like a major therapy moment listening to a Floyd documentary. And I was like, holy shit, this dude makes total sense.
Yeah.
I need to readjust. And that kind of helped set me on a journey of being in the present,
Being present, man.
Yeah, I think
it's hard to do with all these phones, isn't it? Like sometimes you're in 100 different places with 100 different conversations on your phone. And it's like, wait, I'm talking to one person right in front of me. Let's just be there right now.
Yeah, I know it is tough.
But that's a good word, man. And, he hit the nail on the head when he said, like, be present because you only have one life to live and one moment.
Yeah.
And
I was ready to hear that message, I guess, at the time, and it appeared sort of, and it was really great. And I even like we went out to dinner, my wife and I, a couple of nights ago, and we just put away our phones, man. It was great. It was like two normal people before. No, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I was just holding her hand and we just talked, and it was so relaxing, man. It was none of this shit. Oh man, I gotta look at my Instagram feed or any. I was like, let's put our phones away, please.
Right. the FOMO feeling is like, oh, if I'm not checking my messages, I'm missing out on something.
There's
But
nothing going on.
but the real life, oh, sorry. The real life situation is like, if you're not sitting there listening to the person across from you, you're missing out.
Bingo, man. Right. I've been with my wife 27 years. I really enjoy that time. I'm lucky. I want to make memories. Looking at that phone. I will not remember anything I saw on that phone, but I'll remember that dinner we had the night. It was really cool. We had a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
that's the way you got to do it, man. Where'd you grow up? Did you grow up in San Diego?
Yeah, I did. I was born on a Navy base.
Oh, okay.
In Florida.
Oh,
Because my dad was in
Pensacola?
the Navy. I was in
Pensacola?
Key West. I was in Key West, Florida,
very
man.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the base down there?
I don't even know. I only lived there a year.
Shit.
But
I'm here. I should know.
Key West.
It's
yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't Homestead?
I mean, I don't know the name of it. It was Key West Navy base.
Interesting.
I think it's closed down. I don't really know. But then we moved to South Carolina, and then Puerto Rico, and then San Diego. So kind of landed in San Diego by junior high.
Like Coronado, is that the base there? I think it's called.
Yeah, Miramar actually
okay.
is where my dad was. Yeah,
Okay.
My dad was at Miramar where they filmed Top Gun.
Very cool. So he's retired Navy now, or is he? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
He's retired Navy, so he's a veteran, and we just stayed in San Diego, which is not a. It definitely doesn't suck. It's like, oh, this is a great place to end up.
Yeah, San Diego's very cool, man. Did you always want to be a musician, or did you want to do something else? You ever want to go? Did you ever want to be in the service? Did you ever want to go into?
No.
Do you have any brothers or sisters who did go?
No, I have two brothers. Neither of them went in service.
All three of you are allergic, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. We were like, no, that's not for us.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd be a teacher. My mom was a music teacher. So that's probably more what I followed after. Got a teaching credential, and a fine arts degree, which is like a music degree and a comm arts degree. Yeah, and I thought I would teach school or, I don't know, do something in that area. But the band thing took off. I always loved music. I always did community theater and church music and, just singing in little choirs with my mom, because she was a choir director. So she roped me into all that at a young age. Took piano lessons and then stole my brother's guitar and started strumming it, and got hooked on guitar after that.
And then once you started the band, you just decided we're going to, did you know when you started that band and once it started getting, like when you got signed, did you know, okay, this is what I'm doing for a living?
No, actually, when we decided to end that band, I thought I'll go back and teach.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was headed to substitute teach for like a year until I could land a job. And then John called me and I was still kind of like, okay, I'll do this tour or maybe a couple tours with Switchfoot. And then I'll probably go teach after that.
Dude, I'm starting school in September, man. I could, that's so funny, man. So you're thinking of going back to being a teacher because you didn't know what it would be like.
No idea, man. No idea. We were playing, when I started with Switchfoot, we were playing 100 person, 200, 300 little rock clubs all over the country.
And now what's the biggest crowd you've played in front of?
Well, this summer we did open for Bon Jovi in Europe, and those crowds were large.
That's very cool.
It's like 70,000 over there in soccer stadiums. Yeah, that was quite an experience.
That's cool, man. So you've grown with the band from playing 100 people to playing with 70,000. That's a really nice experience to have accomplished and to have enjoyed. What were some low points, Drew, or maybe dark periods you've had to deal with in life, and how'd you get through them?
Yeah. Last year was a real dark period for me. I haven't talked about this much, but I kind of decided I wanted to talk about it on the show here.
Thanks.
But we took a year off as a band. after touring for 15 years, we took a year off and we only played like 6 or 8 shows. And I had no idea what was going to catch up with me that last year. It was almost like a boat in the open ocean who's been going for a long time.
Yeah.
And then it stops and the wake behind the boat just kind of overtakes the back of the boat and about sinks it. My wife had some medical issues going on, and we had some marriage issues going on, and those things were mounting and I didn't realize it. She was crying out for help, not in one instance, but she was kind of calling out for help in the last like couple years. Like, I feel like some things are wrong and going bad in my body, and I don't know what it is, but I'm not sure. I need help. I'm not sure what to do. And I was just blind to it. I was just I really regret, being blind to it, but I was not listening to her. And she ended up having a brain aneurysm.
Wow.
In November, last 2 years ago, November.
Holy
and then
shit.
having to go into ICU and had a brain surgery to put a little thing called a stent in there to basically hold the blood vessel from exploding, which is what an aneurysm is. It's where a blood vessel explodes. Blood goes into your brain. Most people die.
Yeah.
I've had friends pass away from this. It's just an unexpected
Wow.
thing. So she lived, she's here, she's here now, but we went through this, and it just caused a complete upheaval of our lives, of our marriage, of our relationship, of her trust in me. As you can imagine, anybody that's been through a hard medical situation probably realizes that it's like all the water drains out of the pool, and you're just sitting there going like, what do we have? What's left? What you just, it's like nothing else matters except you and me, and how are we going to figure this out and make it through this,
It's very scary. I've been through something like that, man.
Yeah, it is. And so, it took us like a year to recover. I went into counseling, she
Good.
started counseling. We had some major, just broken systems in our life. After touring for 15 years, we were coping with a lot of stuff. We were a dysfunctional relationship. We had lived dysfunctionally because we kind of just had to, and we formed these bad patterns. And it was literally killing her. Like, her health was going down for like the last couple of years. And I, she had been diagnosed with Lyme disease. Anyway, without going into
Holy shit.
yeah, like autoimmune stuff. Yeah. And people with autoimmune stuff will be able to identify with this. Doctors didn't know what to do. Like, doctors are like, yeah, we're not sure. It seems like you're depressed and you need to just take some anxiety meds.
Yeah, right. Get on Xanax or something. Yeah.
A lot of times anyway, that comes with these autoimmune disease symptoms, is that brain fog and that depression. And but it stems from a lot of systemic things, and they come from relationship things. So anyway, without taking all of the time on our podcast about that,
Sure.
what I want to emphasize, I guess, is that it was a really dark time. It was a really difficult time. It was a very, that people that have struggled with depression know that you just are in a fog, and she was definitely in that fog, and I was kind of trying to figure out where we were. Counseling helped me a ton to come out of that. Having someone else that can help you see your problems and help you through them is I would recommend it to anybody. Like,
oh, hell yeah.
You're not weak for getting into counseling. You're strong for knowing that you need help and you can't get yourself out, And I would recommend that to anybody. But yeah, so we made it through that year and started touring again, and we tour a lot differently now. I got a lot of my priorities hopefully straightened out, at least. God helped me out. God walked me through that. I got to be really honest with you and just say that I wouldn't have made it through on my own. And I still have a lot of issues to deal with through this, but at least that dark period is kind of over.
Man, first of all, thank you for sharing that. How's your wife now? Her health, is she okay?
She's okay. She's still kind of recovering. She's on a bunch of different protocols, like it's like detoxing from metals and from anyway, mold buildup. We had to move out of our house because we found mold in it, and mold is a really bad thing that I didn't realize. Yeah, my house was in bad shape, dude. After we took that year off, it was like, there's mold in our house. We have to fix it. We did that. We did all the remediation, but she went into the hospital, and then we ended up, completely fixing the home. And, but she still didn't feel comfortable being there, which was fine. So it didn't work for our needs. All that to say,
she's on the road.
She's okay.
Recovery? Good.
She's on the road to recovery. Good. She's up with the kids and helping out with the homeschool and all that, because she homeschools our kids, which is a lot of work. But yeah, she's doing it. Well, she's a champion. She's a champ. Like, I've never seen a woman this strong before go through something like this.
Well, I don't know how old you are, but congratulations that you had to wait that many years to first go to therapy.
Oh, dude,
that's pretty miraculous.
I've been in counseling before.
I mean, I think everybody should go to counseling, man, because, with rare exception, parents leave a lot of baggage on your lap. Some of it's intentional, some of it's not intentional. Some of it's just shit happens. And you really need to unwind that stuff, because if you don't, it carries forward and it always messes you up, man. So I'm really happy that everything's on the mend, man. Thank you for sharing that. And best wishes of continued success for, all the good things, man.
Thanks.
Let's talk about a light and easy topic. Let's switch over to talk about some gear. What's your go-to guitar right now? And what right now, top three?
Top three, yeah. Right now, my go-to guitar is my signature model with Elliott. I have a guitar called the Royal Haven with Elliott guitars, and
he's out of North Carolina.
He's out of North Carolina, and he's a luthier that just makes top shelf guitars. And I've been playing them for probably the last 8 years, maybe 10. I don't know, probably 8 years by now. And so I have 3 of his guitars that I play pretty much exclusively on the road. A Tone Master, which is like a Jazz Master, cool. Peter Stroud's signature model, but it's his pretty much flagship model. Is this Tone Master. It's sick. It's man, my friend at JHS, so Josh came to a show, and he's like, dude, you need to check out this guitar, this Elliott Tone Master. This was 8 years ago. And I was like, dude, they're too expensive. I'm not into furniture stuff, man.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's a real player guitar. Like, it's a rock and roll guitar. You've got to try it. So he brought his, he gave it to me. I played it one night out in Kansas City and immediately was hooked. I was like, oh yeah, this guitar has got the mojo. It's for me. And so from that day on, I got one from Elliott, and then built a relationship with Elliott and play his Raven and the Royal Haven that I am lucky to have as a signature model.
What is that?
Named it after my daughter. Yeah, the Royal Haven. It's like, so basically I modeled it after a Epiphone cornet.
Oh, cool, man.
Yep, which I love. It's P90s double cutaway. It's got those rad horns, but I shaped it bigger. So my Epiphone cornet, like I played it live a bunch, but it's so small. It was like a student model, and it feels like you're gonna snap the neck right off that guitar. It's very thin, and it's got that batwing headstock and everything. But it was like, I was like, let's make this shape, because I feel like the shape is so bitchin', but let's grow it up so it'll fit in a telly case and be a little more like a Les Paul Jr.
Very cool, man. That's really okay. And you had just mentioned Royal. You named it after your daughter. Is her name
Haven.
Haven? That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, dude.
Do your other three daughters get pissed like, Dad, I need a pedal or something?
Right. I did a pedal after
oh, you did a pedal after your other daughter.
My first daughter. People don't know this. The Bun Runner, I did a fuzz pedal with JHS.
Right.
And it's discontinued now, but you can find them online. But it's called the Bun Runner.
The Bun Runner.
That was my daughter's nickname as a kid. So
That's
I was
funny.
like, hey, what should I call this pedal? And she's like, you should call it the Bun Runner. And I was like, all right, nobody will know what that means. I might as well do it.
That's great, man. That's great.
Yep. So another gear thing too is that pedal wise, that one's discontinued. Like I said, the Bun Runner. But I have a pedal that's out now. It's with Jackson Audio, and it's called the Bell Star Overdrive. And the Bell Star is actually named after another relative. There's a famous female outlaw in my family. Her name is Belle Star, and she ran with Billy the Kid, and
that's wild.
Robbed trains and stole horses. And if you look her story up online, it's really interesting. Actually.
That's crazy. The Belle Star.
Yeah, Belle Star. And she's got like movies made after her and stuff. But I just loved her story. And my dad, to this day, gives away books of Belle Star and is like, she's the most famous person in our family. Check out these books. She's an outlaw.
Jackson Audio, is that the same as Jackson Guitars?
It's not. No, it's not. But
so.
It's the same as Jackson Amp Works.
Okay.
They make amps and pedals and not guitars. The like 80s company, it's different than that. So it's made they were made in Dallas, and the guy's name is Brad Jackson. So it's, he got Jackson from his last name.
Got it.
Anyway, it's an overdrive. Like, it's a medium gain overdrive that essentially like every player can use pedal. It's like just a solid Princeton styled, Princeton voiced overdrive pedal.
Very cool.
Yeah, dude. So that one's out now. You guys can check that out. There's some demos of it up and people playing it.
Go back to guitars 1 second. So you got the Tone Master, which is a Peter Stroud model. This is all from Elliott. You got the Royal Haven, which is yours. What would be number 3?
Man, number 3, I would actually say is, I have a pretty decent vintage collection in my studio, and my favorite one is ES330. So it's a Gibson ES330. It's shaped like a 335. Obviously, this guitar, but doesn't have that center block. It's got 2 P90 dog ear pickups, and I got it. It's a 64, I believe.
Oh, that's sweet, man.
Yeah, man. I got it off Craigslist, and this dude listed it for $1,500, I think. And I was like, I'm on my way over.
Yeah, that's a really good price for 64.
Yeah,
was like the headstock missing or something? That's perfect, great.
Dude. Like mint. And I was like, dude, so what's the deal with this guitar? And he goes, well, my best friend played guitar, and he passed away, and his mom gave me his guitar, and I just wanted to go to someone who plays guitar. I don't even play.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, hey, I'm your guy. I'm like, I play guitar.
Right place, right time. That? Good for you.
And it had Estelle written on it. He's like, he named it Estelle. I hope that's okay. I'm like, that's great. I love a guitar.
You can call it anything you want for $1,500.
Seriously, right? Yeah. But check it out. This other buyer shows up, and he looks at it and he goes, hey, I'll give you 17 for it. And I was like, man, back off. Like, we're talking.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh, you'll give me 17 for it? And I was like, are you doing a deal here? Is this like an auction? Like, what are we doing? Like, but then he's like, well, that guy will give me 17 for it. And I was like, well, hey man, I'll give you I'll give you 17 or 18 for it. And so he was like, okay. So he gave it to me for 18.
Great
Yeah,
price. Great
still
price.
great, right?
Oh my God. For a 64, that's
Yep.
really cool. Yeah.
But I love it. And I had no idea how much I'd love it. You know, you buy a vintage guitar, sometimes it doesn't feel right. This is the right one. I've
Really
played it
cool.
on every record. Yeah.
Oh, you have? That's great, man. So it gets a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of use.
It gets a lot of use. Like I use that guitar for everything.
Did you take that on the road with you?
I did for a hot minute. And
Oh,
then it was like, no.
yeah.
Our keyboard player had 3 Les Pauls broken on tour by people on stage knocking them over on accident. Like headstock snapped. It just fell out of a stand. And
no, that like, you got a 64 Mint. You don't want to chance that, man.
It's only a matter of time before that thing gets messed up.
No, totally smart thinking.
Yeah, so I canceled that. Forget that.
I know you're into tone, and I know you mentioned you like playing out of small tube amps. So tell me, let's talk about like some of the better tone signals you've achieved. What are you playing through? What do you like to get the tone you like? What do you like to play to get the tone you like?
That's right. Yeah, I like small tube amps turned up in the studio. That's exclusively what we use for distortion. We do use fuzz pedals and overdrive pedals a little bit, but a lot of times it's really just, you know, some of my favorite ones we've got. You know, I've got an amp that's kind of rare that I reissued with a company. Tell me if you've ever heard of it. It's called a White Higher Fidelity.
That's the brand?
Uh-huh.
A White High, what year
White
is that?
Higher Fidelity. So that was in 1954, and it was made by Forrest White. He worked at Fender. He was like the production manager, I think, at Fender. Anyway, they made this side brand called White Higher Fidelity, and they were trying to achieve maybe like a top shelf line of the Fender amp. And it was basically like a 54 Tweed Princeton is how it's voiced. It's got a 10-inch speaker, and it screams. Like, it's one of my favorite distortion sounds of all time. You know, I've used it on a lot of records for guitar and bass. And
what is that, like 18 watts, 15 watts or something? 20?
5.
5. Wow.
Yeah, it's like 5 or 7 watts, something like that.
White Higher Fidelity. That sounds like a Bond issue or something like that. That's really wild.
Dude, if you ever find one, buy it. They're rare. They go
look for these.
They go for a few grand, but if you can stumble upon one for anywhere close to $2,000, just buy it. So a friend of mine, Eric Burns, reissued it with me in an amp company we did a few years back called Revival Amps, which has since gone out of business. But we faithfully reproduced that circuit just because we loved it so much.
How come you guys, it was just too much to continue?
Man, we had some business issues with people involved, and just ended up having to close the doors on that project. It was a bummer, but without going into details, it was just some business issues.
Sure. That's a good name too, because you could reissue anything with a company called Revival Amps. You know,
I know, right?
That's really cool. I like that.
So that's a good one. We use a faithful Fender Princeton in the studio for stuff. A lot of guys do, but obviously that amp is a shining star, you know, in the sky of amps, basically. We've gotten a lot of cool sounds by late night experimentation, basically, with mics in different places. And you're like, what if this actually worked? You know, I'm gonna put an acoustic guitar in front of the amp, tuned to the chord, and when I hit the amp, the acoustic is going to explode with all the resonance. And then I'm going to capture that through the acoustic guitar pickup. And that's the opening sound of our song, Needle and Haystack.
Wow, that's
just bizarre stuff like that.
Seriously, but you know what, man? That's the fun part about what you do, you know, especially when you're your own band and you don't have like governors sort of, and you can just do what you want to do and have fun playing music.
Yeah. One of the best things we did was create like make our own studio. We bought like an industrial building and converted it into a studio. So
That's
basically all our gear is there. Everything's always mic'd. You know, our engineer Tanner is got everything dialed in, and we have a key, like we can just go in anytime we want and record and stuff like that. So, man, the guitars in there are, you know, we you know, I've got some good vintage Tellys and Les Pauls and a couple good Strats. Obviously, those are, you know, your meat and potatoes. I got into Italian guitars for a little while, so I've got some of the Gambelli, Echo.
You ever hear something called a Wandre? It's an Italian guitar.
Yes.
Yeah, those are pretty cool, man. Yeah,
so sick. I love those weird pawn shoppy, like weird, like Univox stuff and all that. And let's see, you know, just you know, whatever sounds good is good. So we'll do some weird stuff in the studio to just like try to make unique sounding guitars. And you know, one of my things, you were asking me about my concept of guitars. I'll just input this to players that are interested in my style. I don't like stuff to sound too perfect, you know, and a lot of, you know, boutique gear to me sounds too perfect, and I'll you know, it'll sing and blossom and, you know, all this, but it's like I kind of want my rock guitars to have a little more of the edge of a Zeppelin thing, where it's
just thinking Led Zeppelin, man, when you're talking that.
It's my hero is Jimmy Page, you know. So we've got a lot of Supro gear, and that kind of American, not perfect sounding, broken up distortion is kind of what I go for, and I don't want it to be too perfect. So I don't get the like super high dollar amps that are I tend to gravitate more towards like the vintage amps or stuff that's modeled after like a vintage tube amp that's just kind of sounds like it's going to explode or catch on fire at any moment.
That's a nice creamy sound. That's what I love, man. The brown sound, creamy. I love.
Me too.
That's what I like, the kind of distortion I like as well.
Yeah, same.
Anybody influence your playing that people would be surprised to hear?
Yeah, man. I always say my hero is Sean Tubbs.
Sean Tubbs is the man. I know Sean real well. I had him on the show. I've seen him a bunch of times in Nashville. He's a great guy, man.
He's a great dude, and we go way back. We go way back to when I was in college. He was playing in a band called The Violet Burning. You ever heard of him?
No, but I'm gonna give him some shit. I'll send him an email.
But you should, because you know it was a little indie band. It was, you know, they never got real big, but that's where, you know, that's where I first heard him.
Yeah, because he's from California originally, isn't he? That's right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
pretty well. Yeah.
That's awesome that you know him, man. That's cool.
Yeah, he's a great. So check out his interview. I interviewed him probably a couple of years ago. He did a nice interview. Very nice.
Oh man, I'm gonna go watch it. He was playing on the back of a flatbed truck in Redlands, California, just up the road from us. And I remember sitting there going, that guy, if I could play like anybody, it would be that guy. He was just melodic, and the songs were moving me, and it was that moment where it clicked, you know. And I was like, that's what I want to do. So I tried my hardest to meet him. I was like, I gotta meet this guy. Like, I really want to meet Sean Tubbs. Like, he's like, okay, he's my hero, right? So eventually I met him, and he was super nice to me. Great dude. And so then I started bouncing guitar gear off of him. I was just a punk kid, but I was that kid who would come up and be like, hey dude, what are you playing? I'm going to get one of those. You say it's cool. I'm getting it. You know? Yeah. Bad Cat just started, and he was like, these Bad Cat amps are pretty cool. So I was like, I'm getting a Bad Cat. So I met with Mark Sampson. I started stumbling into a lot of boutique gear, and he was like, yeah, these Love Tone pedals are sick. And I was like, great. So I went out and bought all the Love Tone stuff. whatever he said was cool.
That's really funny.
You know?
He's a very nice guy. Very, very quiet, thoughtful guy. He's a really good person. Yeah.
Yeah. He would just say things to me like, yeah, man, you know, the Fender Princeton he brought a Princeton to a gig, and I saw him play, and I was like, why are you playing that really small amp? Don't you like Mesa Boogie and, you know, like Marshalls and like what, you know, that's what he would play before, was Mesa. He's like, no, dude, if I could have any amp, I would take this Princeton. This is the one. And from that moment, I was like, I got to get a Princeton, you know?
That's cool.
And so that's why we have a Princeton in the studio. That's why I got it.
That's great. I'll shoot Sean an email later. That's nice, man. That's nice.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And then, you know, you move on and you listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan and you go through blues and get B.B. King, and you get, you know, Howlin' Wolf. You start to learn some blues riffs. And then I hit Guns N' Roses and learned all their songs. And then I hit Pearl Jam, and then of course grunge hit. And I learned all of, like, you know, the Pearl Jam records and Nirvana records. And then I got into Led Zeppelin, and I was like, what? Led Zeppelin rules. So I kind of did that. I was punk kid, like, oh, pop music, pop. And then it was like, oh, Zeppelin. And then I went back and got into them. And now I like production and producing stuff. And I still kind of err towards the Led Zeppelin approach of, you know, not too many tracks.
Perfect isn't good. Yeah, man.
Yeah, perfect isn't
less
good.
than perfect works. I agree with you.
So I love the Black Keys and a lot of bands like that.
Really good band.
Really look
they're
up
a
to
great
them.
example of that tone is amazing. Absolutely.
They're amazing. So yeah, those are some of the influences. I never tried to do too many cover songs. I always just figured, like, I'm going to put my energy into developing my own voice. Like, just try to do me. And at a certain point you go, all right, I'm not going to be able to play like other people. I just need to be able to play like me, and that's going to be fine.
Yeah, but it fits. What you do is perfect. I mean, it's literally perfect for your band, man. I mean, that's just what you need to serve those songs. Exactly what you're doing, you know? I mean, you guys are so together. It's, you know, you could tell you've been playing for a long time together. There's everything fits. It's like a perfect puzzle on every song, pretty much, you know, and it doesn't hurt that your lead singer's voice is the way he sings, man.
Yeah, he's talented, man. John, we're so lucky to have that fountain of songs. He's just never ending good songs. And so we're just blessed, man. I'm glad to be in a band with him. Really respect that guy.
Tell me your, just for the moment, top 3 Desert Island discs.
Yeah, for the moment, I'd say Zeppelin. Probably go with Houses of the Holy right now, just because I'm digging it. I'd say, gosh, U2 Joshua Tree. And I'm trying to get my kids into it. I'm like, kids, listen to this. Dad, you always play this album. I'm like, just listen to it. It's so good. Everyone loves that record though, because it's got it.
Great record. And
honestly, Dark Side of the Moon is a great record. Sonically, you mentioned him earlier, Pink Floyd. It's sonically groundbreaking still. You know, it still sounds amazing. Yeah.
Tell me, you know, you're super, we talked about this before we started recording. You're like very not rock star ish. What's the most but you're in a band that's super popular. What is the most challenging thing, if anything, that for you being in the limelight, but not like defining yourself as, oh, I'm in the limelight? If that question makes sense.
I think I've gone through a struggle with I don't know if you want to call it fame, but, you know, since you're kind of asking about the limelight,
yeah,
you know,
sure, you can call it. That's what it is.
Yeah, fame. So I've had an interesting relationship with fame. For a while, it was kind of like, we're the underdogs. I don't really want to acknowledge that anyone likes the band or that we've been an impact for our fans, but it's just like, we're just, downplaying, like, the whole like punk rock, if you will, downplay. I think I'm at a place now where I've grown to realize, because I mean, man, we've heard so many stories of people that have listened to our songs and really like been moved, like really been moved. Like a girl going through cancer who passed away and wanted to be buried in her Switchfoot shirt, right? And so her family
that's
as heavy as it gets.
Yeah,
and she's like, your music carried me through.
Wow.
And even when I pass away, I want to be buried in my shirt. And I, what do you, it's hard to embrace that or know just what to do with that, because it is such a powerful like life moment for someone that your music has played a role in their life. And we've heard about stories of obviously divorce and heartache, and our songs getting people through hard times. We sing a lot about hope, man. Our band believes hope deserves an anthem. We want to be on a big stage with a big microphone singing an anthem of hope. We don't mind now owning that. And so if that's fame, that's the kind of famous I want to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I've sort of now been able to own that and say, I would like to be as big or as loud of an advocate as I can, if what that means is singing this anthem of hope. And I'm embracing it more now.
Good for you. So just to clarify, I think what you're saying is you are very comfortable with fame in the context of serving others. If popularity or fame comes from that, you're totally good with that, because that's where that's what floats your boat.
And that's the role I've been given.
Yeah,
I mean,
great.
geez, like everybody has a part to play, right? And I've finally become comfortable going, okay, this is my part to play.
Good for you.
I want to play it. I'm fine with playing the part I've been given, to play. Now you can become a complete jerk playing your part because you can just be like, but I don't see it that way, man. I just see it as I'm just a part of the whole story of what music is. And it's like people liken it to a river, and river, is always flowing. There's going to be bands that have gone before us. There's going to be bands that are going after us.
Right.
And we're at our place in this entertainment industry, in this river of music. It's good.
Very cool, man. Yeah. And I also, like, I know me, I have a real problem with arrogance. And my problem with that is get cancer, get your wife sick, have your kid have a car accident. Tell me where that arrogance serves you. That's a pretty humble, I mean, it's, not to sound corny, but by the grace of God that you're getting through the day, when you have those hiccups, and I've had them, you've had them, plenty of people have had them, that arrogance or that, self-aggrandizement thing, man, I don't really think that really serves you too well in that situation,
Yeah.
It's a quick separator of men, you're not we're all the same.
Yeah. Pain doesn't really care how much money you have or don't have. Like,
yeah. What's the best decision you ever made, Drew?
Best decision, man. That's a tough question. And I saw that on the list, and I was like, how am I going to answer this?
Good, man. That's good. I like that.
First thing you do is you're like, well, if my wife listens to this interview, I better say it.
Marrying my wife. Yeah, that's the most popular answer, funny enough.
Because you realize, that's big, right? That's huge.
Yeah.
That's that's human. That's not even music, right? That's
Of
just like,
course.
you be a man, you be a human, you be a person, you realize like to share your life with someone else is like, this is the way it's okay. This is what, this is like, this is better. We could live on a desert island,
Yeah,
and
man.
it would be fine.
Right.
Um, as long as we're together. And that's the way I feel, man. That is it. That's it. And the more I meet other dudes, I don't trust any dudes that are like shaming their marriage, because I'm like, you don't. And this is just me. I apologize if that offends anybody, but like, you haven't gotten it until you realize that like it's a really good thing when it's working right.
Yeah, and if it's not working, exit, man. Exit.
You
You only
got to
got one
fix
life.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to fix stuff. You can't, it doesn't just happen, right? We all know
No.
it's just
No.
stuff. Yeah.
Work.
It takes some work, it takes some intentionality, but
and it takes
it's
willingness to change. Like, you got to go to counseling sometimes, and you got to figure,
yeah.
hey, man, maybe I am an asshole about certain things.
I'm definitely an
Serious,
asshole about
man.
a lot of things.
But
it's
that's
true.
That's just, you can't get along with somebody unless you're willing to make some adjustments, man. And it's the same thing when you're band. I'm sure, like, you get to points where someone says, hey, man, you need to make an adjustment here. There's three of us here saying you're wrong. And, relationships in general, they're not, static things. You got to make adjustments at times, man.
Yeah. For a while, my wife would tell me something and I'd be like, hey, nobody else is telling me I'm a jerk. Why are you telling me I'm a jerk? But, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
You got to make some adjustments. Like, yeah, you know what? She sees stuff that nobody else sees because she knows you better than anybody else knows you.
Right. No, absolutely, man.
So the quicker you can just be humble and be like, you know what? I do need to grow up in some ways. So
yeah, it's like anything else. Is the cost I'm going to pay for this, making this adjustment versus the reward? And if it is, then do it.
It's good.
Don't,
That's good, dude. That's good stuff. So yeah, I'd say
marrying your wife.
Get married to Jenna. Yep.
All right.
That's it, man. All this music could all just disappear. I'd still be fine.
Tough question. Another one. What do you like most about yourself?
I think I don't know. I like people, and I tend to be an easy person to talk to, and I like to make people feel comfortable around me, and just and I like that because it opens up a lot of opportunities to to just talk to different types of people, and not shut doors. I'm pretty amicable. I'm not a real hard lines, opinionated person. I really like to. I want to appreciate people with what for who they are. They're made well, like I was saying earlier. Like, and a part of doing that is being open and talking to other people and making them feel comfortable around you to just be themselves. And so I don't know. I like that about myself. I think that's a gift. It's a gift that I was given, that I'm sort of I'm glad that I can use that to just be a person with other people instead of having too much loaded stuff in me.
Have you always, because you're really open, have you always been that easy, like that open? Really?
Yeah. And I think that's even as a kid, I was just like happy-go-lucky, and I've kind of always been kind of happy-go-lucky.
That's nice. It really is.
But everybody's got something. That's one of the things I got. I don't know, just the way I was made.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
Most exciting experience you've had, or best thing that's ever happened to you, besides getting married?
Yeah, dude. Most exciting thing. Let's see. Gosh. Well, come on. Having kids is freaking awesome. I love it. Like, it's being a dad is something I shied away from for a long time and didn't really want to talk about, because it's like, well, that's not rock and roll to say you're bad.
It's not rock and roll.
It's really not. And I get that. And, whatever. But if people can identify with that,
Yeah.
you can, like, you have kids, you're raising kids, and it's like, this is a part of life. This is like being human. This is a good thing, granted, there's a lot of wounding and pain and things that you have to work through. It's not easy. It's not like,
No.
you got issue. Your dad gave you issues, and you're trying not to pass them down to your kids and
Right.
all that. But it's real. It's real. It's real. It's what's real. There's a lot in the entertainment industry that's not real. We've gotten accolades. We won a Grammy. It's great. That stuff is awesome. Fame and being applauded every night is nice and awesome. It's a part of what I do. I have to like balance and detox from that sometimes. But what's real is the relationships, the family, the people around me. That's what grounds me. That's what keeps me sane and humanly speaking, grounded.
Do you have any hobbies outside of music?
Yeah, man. I collect, guitar collecting. That's still kind of still in music, I guess. I love thrift store shopping.
Oh, cool. Anything for guitars, or like just in general?
No, I love getting like snap shirts and leather jackets and just whatever's a cool vintage old stuff, old look.
Yep.
That's my favorite thing. It's sort of a hunt, so I always find the local thrift stores and go through them.
I figured San Diego. I thought everybody in San Diego had to be a skateboarder.
Oh man, I skated for years of my life.
I would
and
imagine.
surfing's fun. Right. I don't do it as much as my bandmates, but Switchfoot's a surfing term, so we're big big into surfing. But I do love going to the beach and hanging out and I was there yesterday, and you can't beat it. It's a pretty nice place.
What's the favorite place you've traveled? Because I know you've been all over the world.
Yeah, man. We've been all over the place. What's cool? Europe is amazing. I just really love like going to somewhere like Prague and seeing the history there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, their park benches are older than America.
I know.
As a country. And it's amazing. You get to experience historical, like that stuff lights me up. It's fun to be like, whoa, this building was built in the 1100s or something like that.
My wife is from England, and there's like a church nearby where she grew up. It was like built in 700 AD, and they got tons of them there. Yeah, it's really wild. It's incredible. 2 more questions, man. Best advice that you've ever been given?
Okay, here it is, man. So this is going back to college. I was in college, and my dad, I was like, I took 2 years of general ed, right? And then you have to declare a major. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what major to declare. I don't know. I like a lot of different stuff. And he goes, well, you should major and study something that you love to do, because your work is going to be work. And if you hate it, it's going to really suck. Even if you're making a lot of money, it's not going to be worth it. So like if you are, you can trade off, you can do something you hate and make a ton of money, but then you're still doing something you hate every day. So he's like, pick something that you love to do, that you genuinely find fulfillment in, other than making money at it, because that's just, your life is going to be better. And so I was like, all right, I think I'm going to be in a band.
Not the answer he was expecting.
Nope. I think it backfired on him. I think it totally backfired. I was like, I'm gonna be in a band. I love music. I want to play guitar. He was like, okay, all right, And honestly, my dad hasn't really been into my music career a lot. He's like,
even still, you've been so successful.
Yeah, he thinks it's cool, but he's so far removed from, like, he's a Navy guy, and like, I'm like, Dad, we're opening for Bon Jovi in Europe. And, oh, okay, that's nice. Well, can you come over for dinner on Sunday night? Yeah. You want to watch the Cowboy game?
Yeah. That being said, that was great advice that he gave you. Even to give you that advice was really probably a departure for him in many ways, but I can, it's interesting. The number one commonality among successful musicians that I've spoken to, and it's well over 600 guys now, is supportive parents. Yeah, wow. Very interesting. Number one. Now, even in situations where there was alcoholism, dysfunction, drugs, financial stress, the parents were supportive, and probably over 98%, of the situations.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is really.
Yeah, my mom was always supportive.
That's very cool. That's good. So at least you have one parent on your. Well, you know what? You ain't gonna, at this point, if you open it for Bon Jovi and he's not impressed, man, it's really, have to.
He has no idea who Bon Jovi is. He's like,
oh, really?
He was more impressed by that I named my pedal the Bell Star.
I'm going to put it in the forward of the book now.
He's like, oh, that's really cool. She's our most famous relative,
Oh, man. Hey, Drew, last question. And man, thank you. You've been a really wonderful guy to talk to. And I really appreciate you've been so open and kind, man. So thank you very much. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that change has been intentional and how much is just a natural part of aging?
The biggest change in my personality would be that I'm more responsible now, having a family and realizing like I was blowing it for a lot of years, not owning my job to do with my family. I was kind of, I would say, just shirking my responsibility. I was kind of like, you know what, she can run the family, and I'm going to tour and make money, and they'll be fine when I come back. And, that was just, I didn't really think or own the responsibility, and kind of going like, where are we headed? What are we going to do? Like, where are we at financially? I didn't even watch our finances. I was not watching our house. Like I told you, our house was crumbling, and I was kind of just like not very responsible. I don't know. I was just kind of, like I said, happy-go-lucky, like in the moment. I'm fine because people are applauding and I'm playing music. And, I had this kind of immature attitude emotionally as well. I think I was very hard for my wife to deal with because I was shallow and kind of immature. Having 4 daughters has helped me with that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're like very quick, emotional, mature people, and I'm catching up to them. I really am. I am like, they're awesome. I needed this in my life to not be a shallow kind of unintentional, emotionally shallow dude. I was fun to be around. I mean, that's all good, and that works for being in a band and doing shows. Super fun to be around, but just not very deep, intentional, or responsible with much. And it's been an intentional change. That it's been a hard lesson to learn, but it's been intentional, where I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to step it up. Last year was the hardest year of my life, when I almost lost my wife. And I decided I'm going to live the second half of my marriage and my life different than the first. I'm going to live it intentionally. I'm going to own my responsibility. I'm going to see what faults I have, and I'm going to work on them. I'm going to get, you know what I'm saying? And that intentionality has paid off. I think I'm a different guy. I really am a different guy.
Dude, it sounds like you had a wake up call and you responded really well to it. So I'm really happy for you. I'm really happy your wife is healthy as well, man. Hey,
Too.
let me tell people a few things that you've got going on. First of all, Switchfoot released an album earlier this year. It's a great record. It's called Native Tongue. Man, if you wanted, I'll just give you my couple of favorite cuts on there. It was You're the One I Want and All I Need. So if you want to start with those, but it's a great record. Really good songs, very well written. This band is tight, tight, tight as can be. And it's like, I don't want to say old school indie, but it's like when indie was bright and fresh and really good. It's a great record. The band is going to be touring next summer. And if you sign up on their website at switchfoot.com, you'll get info as to when the tours will be. You could follow Drew on Instagram at Drew Shirley, Shirley. And if you want to get involved and find out a little more about Humans Against Trafficking, which is the organization that Drew is involved with, go to humansagainsttrafficking.org. Anything else? Did I miss anything? Final words of wisdom?
Hey, man, I love this conversation. This
Me
is the
too, man.
longest one I've done, and it's
I
like
appreciate
been really thorough, man.
Well,
This
thank you.
this will go down in the books, man. You just did an awesome job.
Thank you so much. I love doing these. I learn every single person I speak to, man, which is really cool. So I get a lot out of it, and everybody listening enjoys it. So thank you, and thank you for being so open. So I really appreciate that, and hopefully you guys will come to Tampa and I come and see you play. That'll be great.
Dude, we're playing in Tampa this weekend, man. You got to come out.
This weekend?
Yeah, we're opening for the Killers at a couple of festivals.
Are you serious? All right, hang on a second. Let me
Yeah.
wrap this up and we'll talk.
All right.
Man, thank you for everything, man. And honestly, best of luck with your wife. I'm so happy she's doing all right now.
Thanks,
Everybody,
man.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Drew Shirley, man. What a cool guy. Support Switchfoot. Come and check them out on tour. They'll be coming touring next summer. Go to switchfoot.com. humansagainsttrafficking.org if you want to see what Drew is into. It's a very important cause. And follow Drew on Instagram at Drew Shirley. And most important, please don't forget that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. Thank you, brother.